Let's speak to Jean-Marc Rickli now. He's the head of global risk at the Center for Security Policy. He is live from Geneva. Thank you so much for being on Al Jazeera, Jean-Marc. ISIL fighters have been building their defenses in anticipation of this battle for Raqqa. Just how difficult and long do you see this fight being? How do you see it playing out?
Right, I think we can take the template of what is currently happening in Mosul. Mosul is much bigger than Raqqa. But what we should expect is that probably they have sealed off the major streets in Raqqa. They have booby-trapped the city. We should expect suicide bomber and suicide fighter, as well as the use of weaponized drones. The key issue here is that we're talking about 3,000 to 4,000 ISIL fighters. The Pentagon said it's rather 1,000, but we have about 200,000 civilians, and the civilians are used as human shield, and therefore we should be wary of this situation.
You mentioned Mosul, Iraq, and we saw the horrors that civilians faced in Mosul, Iraq. How difficult is it going to be to protect the civilians living in and around Raqqa, given that Syria and Iraq are two very different zones of conflict?
Right. What's the nature of modern conflicts? And it's urban warfare. And in an urban setting, it's very difficult to protect civilians. As a matter of fact, probably ISIS is using civilians as human shield, as I said earlier. So the coalition is using extensive air power to cut off supply lines, especially the bridges. But you have to go in and you have to fight house by house, and that means that the civilian will be the first on the line of fire, unfortunately.
The coalition playing a strong role both from the air and advising on the ground also, but the SDF, the Kurdish and Arab forces, are doing the heavy lifting right now. How battle ready do you think they are? And also, we know that the Turks have reservations about the US giving arms to Kurdish fighters. How's that likely to play out? What impact do you see that having on this battle for Raqqa?
Well, there are two things here. The SDF, especially the Kurdish component, is very well trained. I mean, they gathered a lot of combat experience over the last 2 years. And a few days ago, the Americans agreed to provide them with weapons. So the SDF is being used by the coalition as a surrogate in its fight against ISIS. The key question is political, obviously, because Turkey do not want to consider a semi-autonomous Kurdish region at its southern border. And when Raqqa will fall, the key question will be who will come next? Will the SDF administer the region, or will it be a local people? So far, it looks like it will be local people, but still, this will create huge tension within NATO, for instance, because Turkey is a member of NATO and the US is supporting the SDF. As of who will control the southern part of the Turkish border.
Very interesting to talk to you, Jean-Marc Rickli. Thank you so much for joining us here on this Al Jazeera News Hour. Jean-Marc Rickli is from the Security Policy Center in Geneva. Thank you.